Kevin Clear here with a knife video for you. Today I've got a comparison between two somewhat different knives, but the Kershaw Camp 18 markets itself as a camp tool more so than just a machete, and it does have much thicker blade stock than a typical machete would have. And then the other option I've got here is the Becker BK9. A little more of a one tool option if you're going to try to go into the bush and take just one thing. This could be it, but I want to see if the Kershaw can do the same stuff as this. And I'm also going to, so I've got a bunch of brush here you can see, I'm also going to move to a different spot and see if this has any effectiveness at all as a machete, because of course we can tell this one would. So let's start off, we'll just do a little limbing here. And I think both of them are going to work pretty well for this job. I suspect the advantage will go to the Kershaw. So you can see the Becker works really well for this. If you were, in a survival situation, building a shelter, if you were camping and we're gonna, just set up a little bit of a camp, anytime you needed to do some limbing, even if you've just cut a bunch of trees down like what happened here and want to do some limbing. Let's switch over to the Kershaw and see how it does. Now it's a little harder to control, but it does take those limbs off pretty easily. So you can see limbing works out pretty well. Let's do a little bit of chopping as well. There's definitely a lot of weight here with the Kershaw. So this is going to be a little bit more effective as a chopper, I would suspect. Let me just grab something a little thicker from behind me here. Oh, look. So this big log, if I kneel down, and there's a board over here, so let's grab this. So this should allow you to see and as well allow me to get a pretty good idea for how these things chop. So you can see this is reasonably effective. It takes decently large chunks out of there. If we switch to the BK9, it's not going to be quite as effective because of the lightness of it, but especially if you really choke down on this, it can get the job done. So it would take me a little bit longer, you can see, but again, it's a pretty effective chopper. And of course, the size trade-off is significant. If you're backpacking or anything where size is at all a constraint, the fact that this can do that well in this job is pretty darn impressive. Now, I'm going to pause this for a second. I'm going to cut these two up and then we're going to show how these two baton. Okay, so I took that larger branch you saw, I've cut it into small sections. I'm going to use the longest one as my baton, and I'm just going to do a quick little so as expected, that works extremely well. Let's see how the BK9 does. Of course, this is a bigger piece and it's got some knots in it, but it's thin enough that I think will be okay. There we go. There you go. So if you're, preparing campfire or whatever the case may be, that's going to work. The next thing I want to do, I suspect, will be a little more of a challenge for the Kershaw. So I know this is a big piece, but since I've got it here, I'm going to use it. If we're going to try and make some curly cues for a feather stick. I've done this a number of times with the BK9, and it can slice off those thin pieces there pretty nicely. Now they're too fat because this is not a stick. Let's see. You can imagine if it was something like this, I'd get something much more effective for starting a fire with. So you can kind of see that works pretty well. Now, I have a really strong suspicion that the Kershaw Camp 18 is not going to work as well. The edge is not as fine. But I will say this, in a pinch, it can definitely get the job done, and I am able to get some pretty thin slices to happen here. Again, would this be the tool I would pick for this? Definitely not. But if you're thinking, you know, what's the one tool I can throw in a pack or in my truck or in whatever to sort of tackle a bunch of different jobs, you can get it done with that. So let's go ahead and pause again. You've seen a bunch of woodworking. Let's go find some long weed, brushy area to see how these function as machetes. Okay guys, we've moved over here because there's one area where I think the Camp 18 is going to shine, and that is as a machete. Now, this is where, you know, you guys know I like versatility, and so having one thing that can do a lot of different jobs to me is useful. And so far we've chopped, we've done kindling, we've done a bunch of stuff. Now I want to see if I have these two knives, can they function doing trail clearing or something along those lines? And just the length alone is going to make the Kershaw more useful for this, but I want to see if the BK9 can still kind of get the job done, sort of the way the Camp 18 did with the feather sticking. So I've got just a bunch of brush here. It's not ideal for what we're talking about, but I think it's close enough that we can see how much effectiveness these two will have. So let's start with the less than ideal tool first. And the first thing I'm going to say is, if I'm, you know, trying to get back here, the length of this is a pain in the neck already. You know, let's say I've got a farm implement back here, something that I'm trying to clear to get to. I can get the job done, but it's not pleasant. I really have to bend down and get that. And if you're breaking trail or something, it just wouldn't work, because you can't break trail doing this all day. So let's switch over to the Camp 18 and see how we do with that. Obviously, I'm assuming it's going to be a little better, but maybe I'm wrong. Can we turn this way a bit? So there we go. It is definitely, if I had to do this for an hour, I'm definitely going to want the Kershaw over the BK9. All right. Having said that, in the part of the world where I live, this is not a major necessity. I don't know if you lived in Florida or somewhere swampy and a little more tropical, this could be more important to you. And so you're going to have to kind of think this through for your own purposes. And so now that we've seen all of these, let's switch locations. We'll do a final sort of discussion on these two and how they stack up. Okay, so you've kind of seen both of these do a little bit of stuff here and there. In terms of a one tool option, both of them are actually pretty good. And if you're looking for something to throw in a bag, if you're looking for something, you know, to be in the back of your truck for whatever occasion may arise, both of these will do the job, okay? But there's a huge difference, as you can see. This one is bigger and heavier. It means that, at least for most of the backpacks that I have, it won't fit all the way in. You've got to, you know, have it sticking up type of thing. If it's going to go in the back of your truck, Again, it's got more space. So if you need the one tool that can do everything and serve double duty as a machete, this is definitely the tool you want. It's way, way better. However, if the machete application is not really a thing for your purposes or for where you camp or wherever you happen to be going, then I have to say the BK9 is going to be my choice. And I'll tell you, in terms of having a tool always at the ready, this is the tool that I keep in my truck. So I know, whatever occasion arises where I need a large cutting tool, I can get this, and I've got quick, easy access to it. So out of those two, that's how they break down. The BK9 is, I've often talked about how versatile it is, how useful it is for a variety of different tasks, and that held to be true here in this little comparison. As we said, the extra weight on the Camp 18 does make it chop a little better, and of course the extra size makes it function double duty as a machete. So that's definitely worth considering. But the trade-off is you're carrying something much larger and much heavier. Thanks a lot, guys. Don't forget to check those channel sponsors down below. Using them does help the channel out an awful lot. I'll thank you in advance for doing that. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll talk to you soon.